do everything for everyone else. Let me help you make your life easier. Quick, short information to make you empowered and remind you why you are so important. Because if you don't know what's on the menu, how can you choose what's right for you? Hi, I'm Alina, director of my private practice Supportive Therapy, an everyday Aussie mum trying not to lose my biscuits and my kids. As a mental health professional, I'm here to share my secrets so no other mother feels alone or powerless. Knowledge is power, and I want you to be powerful. Think of it like I'm your mindset coach through all of this. Everything is backed by science and psychology. I believe in you, and I want you to be the best version of yourself. To be happy and to feel in control, you need to be mentally strong. Hello everyone, thank you again for joining me. My name is Alina Bishop from Mentally Strong Mums, and today we're going to be talking about a topic that can be very relevant to a lot of people, and for some people, if we've never experienced it, can be very difficult to comprehend. So this is about if you have a broken heart or if you're heartbroken, and what it looks like either going through separations, divorces, or even a death of a loved one. But for mums and for women, understanding how painful and awful it can be. So remember your first love when it didn't work out, all of that pain and heartache. It might have actually been a long time ago now, so it might not be that familiar anymore. But when we're actually in it, and in the depths of this despair, of heartache, of being broken up or separations or everything ending, it's the most awful, painful experience. You feel like it just will never end. It consumes you every moment of every day. People keep on telling you, don't worry about it, you're better off without them, move on and just get over it. You know those words, just get over it. Well, heartbreak and grief, you can't just get over it. It's impossible. It's technically about accepting it, accepting our new reality, and understanding how to move forward with how everything has changed. So when people just say, she'll be right, you'll get over it soon, there's no such thing as getting over it. So that can also be one of the first things to accept, that this awful, devastating thing is happening to me. And for you, if you've never experienced it, but you have children or even teenagers who are going through heartbreak, and how awful it is to watch them experience the despair and the awfulness and the loneliness. And if we can't remember what that's like, or we've never experienced it, it can be very overwhelming, because one of the worst pains you can experience is actually watching a loved one in pain and knowing there's nothing I can do to make it better. It's awful uncomfortableness, and sometimes it makes me feel so bad I just want to avoid it, and then they feel alone and it's abandonment. Do you know what I mean? So obviously imagine having a breakup later in life with someone who was your partner, where you had all these hopes and dreams about our future growing old together, or you've had children with, and we've been together for over a decade or even 2 decades. It can literally feel like a broken heart, because your emotional heart is broken. It feels like it's destroyed, and the distress sends signals to your brain, which can register in your body as physical pain. Your heart literally aches. So just a quick heads up, we are all mammals. We gain advantage in survival when we are in a close relationship. We are built for attachment, which we will explain in depth another time, and a pair bond. Pair bonding, especially for women, is very important, because we're mammals. It can give us this safety. So when it all falls apart and we perceive that we are all left alone, it can feel like that abandonment, isolation, rejection, and then we have a fear of the future. And this can be really confusing for some mums, because even when we know that a relationship was never going to work out, or we know that we were the ones that instigated the separation, we get really confused when we feel these ways, because in some way we feel like, well, this decision was ultimately mine. I don't deserve to feel this way. Okay? And then understanding that psychologically it can almost feel like a drug withdrawal. So your relationship was like a drug associated with the positive brain chemicals. So then when they leave, it can literally then in your body feel like a withdrawal from an addiction. So just think of this. Every time you stalk them on their social media or receive a text message from them or check in on them, it's like getting another hit of a love drug, which can then ultimately prevent you from moving on authentically. Because like if I keep getting these hits, the addiction kind of then exacerbates, and then I want to see what they're doing. Where are they going? Let me go and say all the stuff. Do you know what I mean? So even though we're like, it'll be fine, just move on, it's just, no. We have our mammal, we have our survival mode, we have our abandonment, and then we have this withdrawal feeling, and then we have the physical pain, okay? So it's really difficult because even in terms of ruminating, which we spoke about last episode, these thoughts over and over and over and over again just feel like they consume our whole mind. And there's been a couple of studies that estimates that during a breakup or separation, you can actually think about your ex-partner 85% of the day. Like, what is left, okay? That's how consuming and obsessing it gets. And all this whole grief and loss process about what I should have done, why I should have done it, all of the stuff. And then in survival, but trying to put on that brave face in front of your kids, okay? So everything that I just quickly mentioned, let's just understand this more in a bit depth, okay? So as mothers, our inclination towards safety in numbers is deeply ingrained in our psychological makeup, and it has significant implications for parenting. So in terms of evolution, forming bonds within a community is crucial for the survival and well-being of our species. So you know that saying, it takes a village to raise a family? And it's so difficult because in our culture, especially Australian culture, it's more individualistic. So it's not that community. I feel alone a lot of the time because I am alone. And if I want to find this village, I have to go and search for it. And it's really hard, okay? You can't just type that in Google Maps. So in the context of parenting, I hope I made you laugh with that joke. In the context of parenting, this means that being part of a supportive network is not just a preference, but it's actually a fundamental need, especially for women. We need this a lot more than the masculine, okay? So number one, it gives us security and protection for our families. So by connecting with other mothers and building a community, especially those who have experienced and gone through what we have, it can enhance the safety and protection for all of our families. And then it almost gives me hope about the future that I can make it through this. Because look at them, Sorry, excuse me. It's like a collective watchfulness. And then in terms of this mammal theory, it can help us identify potential risks and then respond effectively. So that could even be in real world where I don't feel safe in my house, I don't feel safe in my car, but maybe if we live together or we communicate, we can have a look at what works for some people, like certain security cameras. And knowing that if I feel nervous, I can always reach out and tell my friend that I'm freaking out, and they won't judge me for overreacting. They will make me feel like everything's okay even though I'm at home alone, Number two is resource sharing and support. So obviously everyone knows that parenthood comes with all of its challenges, honey. And being a part of a group allows us to share resources, sharing advice, and especially emotional support. So the strength of our network directly impacts our ability to navigate all of the complexities of parenting. Because then when this works for this mum, I'm doing it, you know? If I've been trying this for such a long time and I feel like a failure because of it, and I tell my friend that we're sharing quote unquote resources, which is essentially a little cheat sheet from other mums about what could work for you. This is my situation. It was awful, but this worked. And then it gives me that collective sense of pride. Number 3 is our emotional well-being. So social connections significantly contribute to our emotional well-being. So having a supportive group of fellow mothers, it can help alleviate stress, anxiety, and then obviously all the emotional demands of parenting. There are a lot of emotional demands with parenting with children, okay? Number 4 is learning and growth. So parenthood is a journey with continuous learning and evolution, especially in this day and age with social media. Sometimes depending on how old your kids are, they're on TikToks and they're older teenagers. They can almost know more about trauma and attachment than we had. So depending on which rabbit holes they go in, which algorithms they follow, they can be more informed. So for us, that's a wonderful incentive for us to grow and learn about ourselves, about different theories, about what works, and then eventually evolving and not being stagnant. And then that also helps to breaking the cycle, the intergenerational cycle. So every generation is better than the next in terms of evolution, security, safety, because really we all want our children to be happy and to have a better life than we did, So that's this beautiful collective wisdom, and it actually benefits everyone, including kids, obviously especially, but for mums as well, okay? Number 5 is balancing responsibilities. So obviously, mums, our mental load, if we're able to juggle multiple responsibilities, we can get a sense of safety within our community if we're comfortable enough to distribute tasks, offer assistance, and then lighter the load. And if you've got really good community and friends, this is a great incentive. If I have to work today, can you pick up my kid this afternoon? That's fine. And then when they pick it up, I made lasagna, so I just made extra and I've given you half. I've frozen it. You can have it when you need it. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Thank you. So it's this thoughtfulness and consideration where it's mutually beneficial. So I feel special doing things for you, and then you feel special doing things for me, and then it prevents that anxiety and feeling like a burden when asking for help. That's the greatest barrier sometimes. If I feel like I'm alone a lot, and I've been raised a certain way to be fiercely independent, sometimes if I have to ask for help, it is absolutely terrifying, and I will pretty much do anything not to do that, okay? So if we can understand the psychological impact of safety in numbers, it not only validates our natural inclination to seek out supportive communities, but also emphasizes the vital role these connections play with our journey as a mothers. And especially if we are now a single mum, it can be extremely overwhelming. And I've always kind of relied on someone, and even if I haven't relied on them, because that's might be half of the reason why we've separated. But now, if everything feels like it's on my shoulders, if I can find this collective community to be with, I don't actually feel so alone, okay? I just want to quickly touch on something, though, that's really important. It's called broken heart syndrome. I don't know if you've ever heard that. I think its technical name is stress cardiomyopathy. So, I hope I pronounced that wrong. I'm dyslexic. So, it's a condition in which extreme emotional or physical stress can lead to severe and reversible heart muscle dysfunction. So, it can the pain, the emotional pain of heartache can sometimes then even mimic physical pain. So it can almost feel like chest pain, shortness of breath. Sometimes I might even feel that pain on my left side. Legit think I'm having a heart attack. It's broken heart syndrome. Terrifying. So for mothers going through a separation, because of all the pressures of everything, and if you think typically mums don't generally put themselves first in any way, especially with self-care, the emotional toll can be immense, okay? So even if you do have a bit of a broken heart, especially in the beginning of a relationship breakdown, we can have physical symptoms like chest pain. It negatively impacts our mental health because of the emotional stress, increases depression and anxiety, exacerbation of pre-existing conditions. So if I've already got health issues out there and then I'm going through a bit of a broken heart syndrome, this stress can exacerbate existing health concerns, okay? It can also then sabotage recovery, because if I feel this way and I'm so scared and I'm so overwhelmed, sometimes I then shut down in that hardcore freeze mode, and I'm not leaving my bed because I'm too scared. If I go out or if I exercise or do something, it's going to tip me over. I just can't do that. And then when we understand that and the fear that I feel, that aloneness, it impacts parenting and then family dynamics. So the emotional and physical toll of broken heart can influence a mother's ability to fulfill her parenting roles effectively, especially when I knew what it was like to parent at the best capacity, where I actually enjoyed parenting. And now everything's so hard and so overwhelming. It can just feel awful, and then I know that I'm letting my kids down in some way, and then that leads to that guilt. Do you know? And then that leads to, well, I feel powerless. There's nothing I can do anyways. What's the point? And then it's, well, they're probably better off without me. You can see how easy those thought patterns can just kind of occur, you know? So it's crucial for mothers that experience the stress of a separation to obviously prioritize their self-care. They definitely need to seek emotional support. And then obviously, if they can, consult with healthcare professionals. So just getting things out sometimes can make the world of difference, okay? Another thing about separations, going through the grief and loss process, you can also experience feelings of anger, such as abandonment rage, okay? When you are so angry and so upset that they left, right? Abandonment rage. And then this abandonment rage can slowly then turn into like self-loathing and then humiliation. It's like the embarrassment of not being good enough in some way that they left me, you know? Obviously, it's not the reality because we were going to do this for a long time or whatever it looked like. But I can't help the way that I feel. And at this point in time, I feel like I'm very embarrassed and that they left. Okay? All of these thoughts can now look like, why did they leave me? What's wrong with me? And then feeling like a failure. So I've spoken about that grief and loss before. I've done an episode on it, so it might be good. But obviously, in terms of a separation, number one is denial. Everything's fine, you know. I think it wasn't, you know, we'll be fine. Number two is bargaining. Bargaining is, if only I did that, or I wish that I tried harder, or perhaps we should have gone to counselling, maybe it would have fixed it, or there's all those bargainings. If we're religious, that could even look like, dear God, if you just do this, then I promise I will, okay? Next is the anger, which can also fall into that rage, you know. How dare you? I can't believe it. I'm so angry, including injustice. And then it can kind of lead into that depression, despair, loneliness. And all of these 5 stages need to go back and forth and need to be addressed properly until we get to acceptance. And acceptance actually means acceptance of how my life has changed. And then forgiveness. So forgiveness of talking smack about myself. Forgiveness of anything negative I did. And then compassion. Obviously, compassion is huge. Okay? So, yes. Loneliness can also, I know a lot of this is a lot of doom and gloom, but I promise I'm going to get to happy stuff soon. Okay? Loneliness can cause inflammation as an evolutionary response. So it's really interesting the things that happen to your body when it perceives a threat or perceives you being alone in some way. And it's so interesting that loneliness can cause inflammation. And I think that was brought up really importantly during the pandemic and people that were living alone because they were so isolated, you know. It takes a huge physical toll. That's why we need a community. It's so important, okay? The breakup can be extremely traumatic, and depending on the circumstances, there's also betrayal trauma. There's a whole lot of stuff wrapped up in betrayal trauma and feeling this huge sense of betrayal from someone who I thought that I loved and that I trusted and that would never hurt me. And so that's a huge trauma event, and obviously if it keeps happening, what happens with PTSD? And then even if I try and move on to a new relationship, if I haven't resolved my betrayal trauma, it will show up in my new relationship as like PTSD and accidentally getting triggered from the past because that trauma was so extreme for you. You can downplay it all you want, but your body registers trauma the way that it does. And that's why it lives in your nervous system. That's why it's not rational sometimes. And when it's so automatic and unconscious, it's not a perception, it's like neuroception. Instant. Straight away. Okay? So, things can get better. I know it's been a lot of doom and gloom, but this is where I want to inspire hope for the future. So if this is for you, that you need it for yourself, or if this is for a friend that you're going through and you're like, geez, I didn't actually realize the intensity of what they're going through. Do you know what I mean? Because you're like, they're there, you know, he was awful anyways, you don't need him, whatever that looks like. You listen to this and you're like, holy moly, you know, how can I help you help yourself? Because this is really serious now, right? So with all of the evidence, it equates to rallying around those who are experiencing heartbreak. So it is literally painful within their body. So people need love and acceptance and belonging, especially those who feel like they've been abandoned and cast away. The ones that are still around, that still love them, we need to like suck them all in. Everything's going to be okay. Making someone feel like you are there for them without abandoning them can help heal their broken heart. And it's difficult because obviously we're all busy. So even if I can't physically be with you for 2 weeks, it could even just be sending a text message. I'm thinking of you. I hope everything's okay. Even if you know the answer's not going to be positive. But knowing that I won't give up on you and you're in my thoughts and I actually care, you know, can help mend a broken heart. Mend a heart. That doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm trying to say, okay? So with all of this pain, we need to retrain the brain to see the beauty in life again. And obviously in the past, I've obviously banged on about neuroplasticity and how to retrain the brain. So if that's what you really want to do, then that's a really effective way to retrain your brain as well. So if you feel like you're surrounded by doom and gloom, we need to retrain the brain to see beauty again. So this can look like getting into nature, seeing the flowers and the birds, anything that's lovely and positive, that's growing, even when it's little branch gets broken off, it grows back again, cultivating beauty. So that could even be in music or art. So putting on music that makes you, not sad songs, not sad songs. Music that's beautiful. So even if it's classical or it could be pop, if you like a whole lot of death metal or ska, you rock to that too, because that's got a lot of beauty, and a lot of that's about heartache anyways. So maybe don't listen to that. But doing things that you find special and the beauty in life, and it's up to you. It's an individual process forward, but we need to know what works, and we need to know what genuinely and authentically makes you happy. Okay, so speaking of happiness, positive psychology states that it can be easily controlled, okay? And all those times where I feel like I'm not happy, we can actually do a couple of things that give our mind the illusion of happiness and well-being. So if we can do these 5 things, you might want to press pause, get out your pens and paper, ladies, okay? Number 1 is positive and gratitude. So I don't know if you've heard of this before, but we have triggers. The opposite of triggers are glimmers. Have a look at it. I might even do an episode on glimmers, because that'd be fabulous, okay? Seeing the positives in life, finding gratitude in the everyday, and just trying to balance out all those negative thoughts with positives. Number 2, engagement and participating. So feeling like I'm engaged and I'm participating in things that make me feel good about myself. It's that collective. Things that make me happy, and when I participate them more often, inevitably I get better at them. So then it makes me feel like increasing my self-worth, okay? Meaning and purpose. So what meaning do I have in life? So at the moment it can be difficult because everything's doom and gloom, but maybe even reframing into what purpose do I have in life at this point in time? And if I could wave a magic wand, what would I want my purpose to be? What do I want everything to look like for me in the future? And it's really difficult because if we are going through heartbreak and a depression in terms of our brains and cortisol, it prevents us sometimes from seeing into the future. So me asking you that can feel like an impossible task. So understanding as well what's realistic, where is my brain at, okay? Another one for happiness is accomplishments. So when I give myself goals and I achieve them, I need to have a feeling of accomplishment, because at least I got out of bed today, that is huge. Getting the kids off to school, that is huge, okay? Not crying today, you're allowed to cry, but if that was one of my goals, you nailed it. Do you know? Another one is, especially if you, in terms of your grief and loss, are living in the anger, if I stayed calm today, nailed it. Well done. It can give us this feeling of well-being and life satisfaction. So we need to start to rebuild you back up again, okay? So this is obviously, a process of refinding yourself. What's happening? Reinventing yourself and loving you for who you are. So all of those little betrayal thoughts in the past, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, they left me because of X, Y, and Z. How can I then realize and make peace with that's happened, and perhaps we just weren't compatible? There's nothing wrong with me. I'm not faulty in any way. How can I start finding the positives within myself? Okay? And start to actually if I don't love who I am, that's fine, because some people never get there. Unless you come and see me, so come and see me. But maybe the first step could be just to like who I am, okay? Finding water. So I don't know if you live around water, and if you don't, maybe put on YouTube clips with water and streams or rain. ocean, lakes and rivers. So there's so many studies that if you're around water or an ocean, how it reduces your blood pressure and how it instantly relaxes you. And then I didn't know if you knew this, but the sound of the ocean is reminiscent of being in the womb. It brings us peace and calm. So even at the end of the day, when I'm trying to sleep, put on something really lovely. Ocean, lake, rivers, rain, and just feel my blood pressure relax, And obviously, if you can, talk to a therapist about what you are feeling and then understand the science behind your nervous system and regulating it and your vagus nerve. Very, very important. So you can learn to get out of that flight, fight, freeze, fawn and get back into your regulated. And yes, it hurts. It is so painful. So painful. Finding people who understand with time and with all of these little things will gently get you back to your authentic self. And then if we continue that as well, we'll start to build you up bigger, badder, better. So this is about resilience and then showing your kids that this heartbreak for some people can be inevitable, okay? In some way, shape or form. But in the context of a separation, feelings of helplessness and feeling alone, getting your brain so it doesn't trick you into feeling like you're alone and convincing your brain that you are safe, convincing your brain that you are okay, and convincing your brain that you deserve to be happy. Okay? Very, very important. I believe in you. You're amazing. And I really would like you to like yourself and learn how to do that again. Okay? Give your kids a big cuddle for me. And I hope you have a lovely day. Thank you so much for your time. Bye. If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire podcast, and for that, I would like to thank you for your support. So you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at supportivetherapy_, and then you can find heaps of free resources online at www.supportivetherapy.com.au. So if today you did find my information useful, please leave a review and subscribe. By leaving a review, it's a value exchange. It's good karma. So I value your support just as much as you value my free information. And if you liked it, other mums can like it as well, hopefully, and then it can hopefully start a huge movement of people valuing mothers the way that they need to be valued. So please feel free to let me know what topics you would like to see in future episodes. Always feel free to get in touch with me in the comments. Otherwise, follow me on Supportive Therapy social media networks. Thank you so much for your time and have a wonderful day, you beautiful mum.